10 pets that appeared in WoW's game files at one point or another, but were never made available to players for whatever reason. First up, we've got the Son of Goredome. This is an interesting pet. You see, it was added to the game in the alpha build of Legion, and dropped from a rare elite mob. This pet had its moveset, model, and item to summon the pet all in-game and working just fine. So what happened? Well, the mob that dropped this pet was removed from the game, and Blizzard just never bothered to move this pet to drop somewhere else. It's that simple. The pet's moveset isn't very good, and very standard for rhino-like pets. Its breed is literally the worst one too, so it's not like anything was lost with its non-inclusion, other than the fact that there are no other battle pets with its model. So if you really wanted one of these weird ram-moose hybrid animals as a companion, well, you're out of luck. Next up, we've got some turtle eggs. Ever since Vanilla WoW, there have been 5 different turtle eggs in the game files associated to 5 different turtle pets. But for one reason or another, none of them were added. Vanilla WoW had its fair share of hard-to-get pets, and even running around with a parrot you could buy in Booty Bay for 50 silver would cause people to stop you to look at it, since information wasn't so vast in those dark times, and not everyone knew that you could have a little non-companion pet follow you around. The problem with pets in vanilla was that they took up bag space to summon and dismiss, but hardcore pet collectors dedicated all of their bag and bank space to collecting pets, so I doubt adding 5 more pets to the mix would have bothered them all too much. In Wrath of the Lich King's open beta, players could loot an item called Certificate of Appreciation from bosses that didn't have their loot optimized yet. Once a player got 40 certificates, they could turn them in for a pet called XS-001 Constructor Bot, which had a completely new and unique character model. This was just meant as a fun way to deal with not adding loot to the beta yet, but once Wrath went live, the pet disappeared, never to be seen again. Until the pet store opened up and sold Little XT, who has the same model as this pet. And a little while after that, another pet with a similar appearance called Alandros Little XT was added to the game as a TCG loot pet. So with 2 different pets in the game with the same model, I doubt the XS-001 Constructor Bot will ever be added. Also in the Wrath beta, a pet called Baby Shark was available from Wintergrass with the flavor text of, "He really requires water." This baby shark would just float behind the player in the air, despite it sounding like it would be an underwater-only pet or something. The pet was removed from the game once Wrath went live, and was never seen again. Blizzard was asked in an interview if the baby shark would ever be re-added to the game, to which they confirmed that he would, indeed. A couple of years later, in Warlords of Draenor, a new pet was added to the game called a land shark, who had the same model as Baby Shark, only with a little bubble of water surrounding it. With the inclusion of Land Shark to the game, it's highly unlikely that Baby Shark will ever be added. Lizzy the Lizard, a pet that is obviously a reference to the Magic School Bus, where the teacher in the show had a pet iguana named Lizzy. The pet showed up in the game files around Cataclysm's beta, but was never actually added. There is some speculation that this pet was going to be a rare drop chance pet similar to Mr. Grubs, because its item ID is very close to Grubs, and they both have the exact same sell price. And another pet, simply called Bubbles, who was literally just a bubble, which I might interject here to say is a really cool idea for a pet and I wish was in the game. But I think they just used this bubble model for underwater pets, like the land shark or the purple puffer. But anyways, Bubbles was also added to the game files around the same time as the other 2 pets, and it also has an item ID close to Mr. Grubs. In fact, it's even closer to Mr. Grubs than Lizzy's is. And it has the same sell price as the other 2 pets, meaning it too was probably going to be a rare chance drop pet, but way cooler. Added around the same time, but was scrapped for whatever reason. And it's doubtful the bubble will ever be added since it's just used with aquatic pets now. And the lizard model for Lizzy is the same as all the other lizard models, so there's no real loss with the uninclusion of Lizzy. Now, these next pets don't actually have any items that are associated to summoning them, only the spells themselves. These 3 elemental pets, Rumbling Rockling, Swirling Stormling, and Whirling Waveling, appeared in game files around the beta of Cataclysm, but never made it in game. Which makes sense, as Cataclysm was a very elemental-focused expansion. The models for these 3 pets do exist in game as other pets, So I assume these 3 were just ideas for elemental pets as a reward for something that were scrapped. Next up, we've got the pet fish pet. This pet was just a dead fish. You'd use the item and it would summon a dead fish who would just lay on the floor. The tooltip for this pet reads, "Summon your pet fish. He used to look healthier." It's obviously just a joke pet that they removed. I think this was back when Blizzard hadn't thought to just put fish pets in bubbles to allow players to walk around with aquatic pets, and this pet was probably a meta joke on why you couldn't have a fish as a companion pet in WoW. But maybe they did eventually make plans to add aquatic pets in the future, and scrapped this pet since the joke would be made irrelevant by themselves down the road? Or maybe I'm just reading too much into this, and the real reason it wasn't added was for way less complicated reasons. There was also a pet rock added to the game files around the same time as the pet fish, but was removed as well. But then the pet rock was reintroduced later on anyway, but we still don't have no dead fish pet. The next never added pet is called Crafty. There's a legendary fishing pole that was never added to the game called Crafty's Pole, indicating that Crafty is probably some kind of in-joke by developers for things that will never be added to the game. Or maybe it's a reference to the fishing trophy called Old Crafty, and one of the developers just really likes the idea for some reason. Anyways, what's interesting about this pet is that it has a whole set of battle pet moves programmed, as well as stats and flavor text reading "likely to flip out and kill someone," and is noted to be a drop from developers. Its character model is just that of a Pandaren monk pet from the pet store, and all of its abilities are, well, pretty weird. For those of you who don't know, I run a pet battle channel, and I largely focus on PvP pet battle content and other stuff. That is to say, I know a ton about pet battles and what skill sets pets usually have. For a humanoid pet, Crafty only has one move that's used regularly by another humanoid pet. All of its other abilities are very random. The ability Proto Strike is almost exclusively used by dragons. Baneling Burst is only used by one pet in the game called Baneling, which was a StarCraft 2 promotional pet for the Collector's Edition. Its other moves are pretty generic and are used by many different pet family types, but those 2 in particular stand out as just really random. This pet is obviously just a big in-joke, probably aimed at data miners or something, and I'm 99% certain will never be added to the game. Next up, we've got the Hardboiled Egg. This pet is just a baby Murloc with no real special story behind it. There are many other Murloc pets already in the game, and most of them are promotional pets, with I think only one of them being obtainable in-game by finding its secret egg. And an interesting thing to note about the Hardboiled Egg is that using the ability has a spell ID of Eat the Egg, which is pretty weird. I guess this pet was supposed to be a Murloc pet that popped out of the egg as you tried to eat it or something. And last but not least, we've got Little Alexstraza. Little Alexstraza was planned to be a mini version of Alexstrasza, similar to how Little Rag and Little Deathwing have their own mini versions in-game. But the idea was scrapped during Cataclysm's beta build before she ever got a unique model. Funny enough, during the Celestial Tournament, Wrathion uses 3 mini versions of dragons in his team, called Cindy, Alex, and Dada. Cindy uses the same model as the Frosty pet, given out as part of the Wrath of the Lich King Collector Edition, and Dada uses the same model as Little Deathwing from the Cataclysms Collector Edition, and Alex just uses a generic Red Dragon Whelpling model. If a model for Little Alexstrasza existed, I'm pretty sure it would have been used here, since Alex is obviously a reference to Alexstrasza, just like how Cindy is obviously Sindragosa, and Dada is Deathwing. And that's it for the video. There are quite a few other pets added during alpha builds of various expansions that were removed for a variety of different reasons, but I only covered 10 of them in this video. Well, 17 actually, if you were to count up the turtle eggs, elementalings, and the bubble. I might include all the pets I left out in a future video, or I might not, since videos on pets don't do so well. There's a reason I opened a second channel for pet battle videos. When I used to upload them to this channel, people hated those kinds of videos cluttering their sub boxes.